What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scratch Agency podcast, hosted by Scratch Agents for Scratch Agents. This episode is officially brought to you by Virtual Intelligence, your premier partner for client-facing and back-office virtual employees. My name is Stephen Turnbull, founder of T5 Insurance Services in Clinton, New York, and I'm joined by my co-host today, the one and only, you already know, hold your applause, Mr. Sean Fitzgerald, founder of LAF Advisors in Long Island, New York. What's up, Mr. Fitzgerald?
Dude, I'm feeling great. It's lacking coffee yesterday and today on a cleanse, but I'll survive.
This guy's nuts, Israel. He's doing a 16, 18-day cleanse. It starts with 2 days of coffee. I would have been out by then.
2 days of no coffee.
2 days of no coffee. 2 days of no coffee. That's when I would have said, check, please, and walked myself to a coffee place. But that's all right. That's the difference, as you all know, between Sean and I. We're going to jump right into today's episode. I'm super excited to welcome my good friend, Mr. Israel Acosta, who's the Senior Vice President of M&T Bank. He is a Utican. He is a great friend of mine, a great mentor. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step outside the industry and talk about leadership, talk about career growth, and all of that good stuff. But Israel, thank you very much for joining the show today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Stephen. Thank you for the opportunity. And Sean, I don't know how you can go that long without coffee. I cannot go an hour without coffee in the morning, especially. So by the time noon hits, I probably have like 7 shots of espresso on me. In me. So
Smart man.
But yeah, thank you both for the opportunity to be here and talk about the topic you have in mind today. So thank you again.
Well, listen, Israel, Sean and I were talking, and we have these weekly calls for the podcast. We're on like episode 80, I think, 81. Yeah. It's been an exciting journey, and I talked to you a little bit about it. Our listeners are insurance people, scratch agents, people that want to start agencies, all that stuff. But it's good to mix it up and bring people in from outside of the industry, right? And when we talked about who do we know in our circles of hardworking people, of hustlers, grinders that have built their way from the beginning stages of their career and work their way up, I immediately thought of you. And so I just want to walk through that cycle for somebody who may be in the beginning stages of their business ownership, of their leadership, of learning how to lead a team that's not just themselves, from a one-man show to a 2-man show to a 3-man show. But before we do that and dive deeper into that, tell us your journey and how you got to where you are today as a regional vice president at M&T.
Thanks again. Thanks for the opportunity. I think you guys have a great podcast here. I've watched some of your episodes. But one thing I would tell you that is, I started banking way back when. I've been already 26 years in the industry. Began just being a teller in a bank, in a small community bank in Connecticut, and saw an opportunity to continue to grow with the company and had opportunities to be part of the growth that company was having. At the time, the company only had 2 branches and it was growing. So I was able to benefit from the growth of that organization, and that propelled me to a very successful banking career. From that, you move up through different positions within the bank. You take more risks that you want to take. If someone tells you, can you do this job? You say, of course I will. And then you find out how to do it, right? That's I'm just paraphrasing a Theodore Roosevelt quote, and I think that you did that. You do that enough times, and you continue to find opportunities to grow, and that has been kind of one of the things that I've been able to do over a 20+ year career to get to where I'm at right now.
I love that. I love, Stephen, like we hear this a lot in the insurance space, like a scratch agency owner, like, how did you get started in the insurance industry? And a lot of the times you hear a similar story, right, Stephen, where they like started as a customer service person and then slowly built their way up. And I honestly think I personally think it's the smartest way to do it, because you learn the ins and outs of that business, right? So once you are in a leadership position, you have so much of a clearer vision, and like you just understand what the other positions in the business are doing. You know what I mean? And I feel like in our industry, it happens a lot. Like I had a buddy call me and he'll just be like, hey, I want to, this company gave me an option to open my own agency. And I was just like, yeah, but you have no insurance experience, and I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody, but I personally think that's the smartest route to go, is to start at an entry position and work your way up. This way you learn the ins and outs of it. Does that make sense, Stephen?
Yeah, no, it makes sense because a lot of people we talk to from the captive side with Allstate, State Farms, and the farmers that they say, "Oh, I would never trade what I did because there's such good training programs. It was so good to start at those certain positions and work your way through." Israel, correct me if I'm wrong, but you before your banking career, you had to start in life insurance, did you not?
Yeah, I did insurance in between being in the banking industry. So backing up a little bit, you I started as a teller in a bank, and that was kind of my foot on in the industry, and not necessarily a at the time a career path. It was just this is a job, and I am going to do it. And then from there, it evolved into a career, and it was
Mm.
by having opportunities, uh, taking advantage of the circumstances, and going for things that perhaps I wasn't sure. They need someone in the operations department. Sure, I'll do that job, right? They need someone in accounting. Sure, I'll do that job. And that allowed me to learn the industry from within. And it didn't matter if they were paying me enough. It didn't matter if I had an easy work load or not. It mattered that I wanted to learn it. I wanted to do the job because I wanted to learn it, and that's how it transitioned to then the customer facing side, where then I went into getting my licenses because now I'm working with the um, with the customers, and from there I took a short stint just working for an insurance company in the life insurance industry.
Mm. So let's dive right into the exact topic that I wanted to talk about, and that's leadership. And I think our preface is perfect into this of starting as a teller, working your way through the banking world. You became a branch manager. Now you're the regional manager that manages 12 different branches on a daily basis. So you've worked your way through and learned your way through leadership. And I know this because some of the personal discussions we have. Talk to us about what you've learned from your leadership journey. And remember, we're talking to the folks here that may have been a producer at an agency that left and started their own. And now it's the first time that, oh, I have to start my business and also make sure Sally's good and my new salesman's good over here, and learning how to navigate those waters and things that you've learned along the way.
Yeah, that is a great question, Steve. And one of the things that you will find, and I think the example that we talked about, Sean, about you start working at an agency, you're doing a customer service rep, and then you kind of get yourself involved in so many aspects, and then you decide to work in your own, open your own agency. And the same thing in my career was the case, where I teller to operations, to loans, to accounting, and I'm learning the banking industry very well, so I understand it. But then you get to a position of leadership, and whether or not you have a very clear understanding of the technical aspects of the job, you are not a good leader just because you understand the technical aspect of the job.
So true.
And that's when you need to start to invest in you as an individual, to understand how you can then grow as an individual, because that's how you're going to become a better leader. Because the technical knowledge that you know about the industry, about the job, it doesn't matter where you are working. That's just part of the equation, right? I know the technicalities of my job. I understand how it works, how things work together. But how to lead people is a complete different set of skills that you have to invest in yourself to develop those skills.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I wanted to ask you this, Israel, related to this topic. I read this quote the other day I just absolutely loved. And I'm not sure how much this resonates with you, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it and if you apply it in your leadership role. So the quote was, "You cannot hit a target you can't see." Right? So a lot of what I like about that is, like, I'm going down this whole path of creating a clear vision for my company. So this way, when I have a weekly meeting with my sales team or my bi-weekly lunch with the customer service people, like, I can just kind of say, like, remind them, hey, this is what we're fighting towards, right? This is the vision. In your position, do you is there like a vision you guys are working towards?
That that is a key component to what you do, whether it is, a target in metrics that you're looking for. Well, I want to hit
Yeah.
X number of sales, production. I want to hit X or Y, whatever those whatever those targets are, you have to be clear on. If it's
Yeah.
the direction, like as to where you want to bring your business, if you have a blurry vision, man, you're going to be going so many different ways because you're not going to be seeing the path clearly. And
Yeah.
sometimes the path doesn't have to be clear, but the destination has to be a
Mm.
good destination that you must understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish and where that destination is. Otherwise, you will be get lost. You will get lost, and
100%.
if you have people who are following you, then that becomes that will compound your problem. So, understanding where you're going and having a clear vision about what that space is or that place is. I work with a team of managers, and I have to make sure that they understand what am I trying to do here in the region that I run. I run a region, and they need to understand what is my operating model, what
Yeah.
is the destination I'm trying to get the region to, how I see our region winning, and where do I see our region winning? Where do I choose to
So
compete
good.
in the environment? So I have to make sure that I understand those things before I give the message to my team. Otherwise, we'll be scattered.
Yeah. That's so true because to put myself in the hot seat, um, when I first started the agency, my vision was it was very scattered. So I would find myself one week maybe focusing on building out my website, the other week prospecting, the other week trying to do processes and procedures. And I feel like what helps when you create the clear vision is it helps you know what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Oh, man, that's
You know what
good.
I mean? So
Hmm.
I'm only going to say yes to what helps me get to that vision. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I feel like that's what, and my vision isn't 100% clear yet, but I've made it a lot clearer. And I feel like that's helped tremendously in that aspect.
Well, to Israel's point, as long as your steps to that vision are clear, if your
Yeah.
vision is not completely that clear, I want to dive. Let's go even deeper into that, Israel. You just talked about the discussion with your managers. You said my favorite word, winning. And you said that I want to tell them how we're going to win, why we have to win, and the steps to do so. What does that look like when you're communicating with your team? And I want to say one more comment before I have you answer that question. I want to talk to the people in that answer, and their first name may be Steven, that when they first get team members, it's hard to accept that not everybody is going to care as much as you do about your business. Not everybody may care as much as you do about your overall goals, the entire region, but you still need those team members in your region to learn how to win and want to win. I know that was a lot
That's
there.
great, and that is a lot to unpack, and that's where your leadership skills are going to be demonstrated for what they are. The ones you are good and the ones you're not good at. What you lack and what you have. You understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and that's where investing in yourself is really important. I think I cannot emphasize the need to invest in yourself. I have hired career coaches. I have hired people to help me understand where do I need to improve and how can I improve to be better at what I want to do. And that's number one. You have to invest in yourself. And then when it comes to communicating and getting people to buy into it, um, number one is one of the uh, very simple, I would say, errors that I did, and that is very common, is that you have your vision, you have your plan, and you just want others to execute that. And that is great. But you are forgetting the fact that other people want to be part of that plan and vision, and
Hmm.
perhaps they bring something to the table that can be very helpful. And unless you invite them to innovate with you, it's very hard for them to have the buy-in that you want, to care as much as you care for your vision and the strategy and plan you have in place. So you need to create an environment when you're setting those expectations with your team that invites them to be part of the idea creation or perhaps of the strategy that you're going to employ to get to your destination. Otherwise, they may not be buying into it, and perhaps they're going to just show up for the proverbial 4, 5, maybe 8 hours that you hire them for, and then you're going to punch in and punch out and not care enough about your business, your customers, your processes, and the success of the organization because they don't see themselves part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's
Empowering your
important
team.
to invite them to create with you. It doesn't have to be the entire vision, but for them to be part of the strategy.
Yeah. And I would imagine too, when you're sharing the power in this is when you're sharing your vision with your team, you might find that some people don't want to be a part of that vision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're kind of weeding out the people that aren't trying to go where you guys are trying to go, you know? Yeah, I think that's another super important part. Like when I was writing out the vision, the same thing. I'm incorporating how does Ryan, Daniela, Anna, Michelle, how do they fit into this vision? You know, oh, we're going to open up this other location. And Ryan, when that happens, you're going to be the head of operations for that location. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's difficult to do. It may sound easy with all of us talking about it, but it's very difficult to do.
And Sean, Ryan might say, "What? Now I got to work this. Now I got to do that."
Yeah.
Right? You're not taking all those things into consideration versus saying, "Hey, team, we need to open another location. It's a great way for us to grow. We need to come and think about how we're going to do that." And maybe Ryan said, "How about we open a location there and I become your operations manager, you know, whatever." Maybe it comes right from there. So that's exactly what I was thinking about doing. Right now, you have the buy-in of that team member that eventually, once you get into that step, is fully committed. Is for to execute.
I like that.
It reminds me of Sean's gonna laugh at this one, but it reminds me of Sean's Uncle Dan's 1-3-1 rule. Dan Martell. I call him Uncle Dan for Sean, but he talks a lot because he's Sean's uncle. I've been following him along. He's not actually Sean's uncle, everybody, but that's an inside joke.
I invested in myself and paid for a coach.
He and Steven's just in the back of the train getting the scraps that come off the back. And one of them is the 1-3-1 rule, and he talks about when you have somebody that comes to you and says, "Hey, this is the problem." He says, "Great, give me three suggestions for that problem, and the one that you think solves it the best, and why that is." Yep. So instead of, "Well, here's the answer. This is your problem, boss. This is your problem, leader. Here's your answer. Go back to work." You're saying, "Okay, Israel, thanks for bringing that to me. Go give me 3 solutions. Tell me which one works best." And I mean, you could easily, Israel, say, "Well, in all my years, I know the solution. It's this and this and this." But if you're empowering them, you're making them feel part of that, right? And if you break that down into any little part of your agency, of your employees, of your staff, of your salespeople, any little part can make a huge difference to how somebody feels empowered and how they're going to want to win with you. Did I butcher that, Sean? Or was that pretty spot on?
No, it was spot on. It ties kind of into like transactional leadership too. Like, you know, again, I'll throw myself in the hot seat. Like when I first started to become a leader, I'll say, when I would give it, like when someone would come to me with a problem, I would just say, "Oh, okay, no problem. I'll take care of it." Or, you know, "Oh yeah, this is exactly how you do it." And I'm kind of like doing their job for them, which is not training them on how to do the right thing. You know what I mean? So by doing that 1-3-1 rule, it helps them learn, become better at their position. And then they're not going to come to me with the same problem again, you know, because I didn't do it for them this time. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
that's
makes complete
perfect.
sense.
And I love that 1-3-1 rule. I think I will probably incorporate that idea because it is true. And at the end, empowering people is one of the best things you can do. Empower people to execute, empower people to take responsibility for what they're doing, empower people to care about their specific roles. And I think you see a more exponential effort that you're going to get as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now,
totally.
Israel, we're looking to wrap up here in a few minutes, but I want to end with a different question on the other side of the coin. in your current role, and again, I just know this because how close friends we are in our personal discussions, but in your current role, you also work with other regional managers. You work with other people that are in your similar position that are doing your job in other areas, right? So you see a lot of those things. When it comes to collaborating and working at your level with those other leaders, like what is one common thing that you just constantly see people missing the boat at? Like what is one common thing that you just you see him, man, if they could tweak this one thing versus my success and what I've learned as a leader could make a big difference.
One common thing that I see is they don't trust their team enough. They don't trust their team enough. Therefore, they take on a lot of the responsibilities, and they don't trust their team to yield the success that they want to see. And part of that is twofold. Hey, you need to trust your team. And second, you also need to be providing the space for your team to perhaps fail, but yet learn and move forward. And sometimes they get so caught up on we need to succeed that we fail to see the lessons and when we don't because we're not trusting. And if you just have employees that will do exactly what you told them to do, then it's all on you, the success or the failure. But if you have a team that is committed to the success as much as you are committed to the success, as everyone is sharing on that success, everyone is sharing on that failure, but everyone is learning and moving forward. I believe that as a leader, the best thing you can do is be absent. That your team is completely successful in your absence, if not even more successful than when you are in the picture. Mm-hmm. So if I can create an environment, or what I like to call sometimes an ecosystem or a culture, that creates great team atmosphere and for a team to collaborate and to problem solve together and to create innovation, right? To be innovative in how they're going to solve things, then that takes me out of the equation in how they execute to the roles and to the job. Then my job is clear to just point the direction.
Yeah.
So my job is just this is where we're going, this is the vision, and I have a team that actually can get there.
Mm-hmm. And that's good. That Stephen, that's like kind of the conversation we had the other day about delegating, right? And being a little bit afraid about delegating, right? Like, oh, if I give this person this task, they're not going to handle it the same way as me, right? And like we had like an open conversation about this with a group, and like I feel like one of the good things that came from it was like, delegate it. They're gonna make a mistake. It's okay. It's just part of the process. Like I feel like if you delegate thinking that, oh, I just hope they don't make a mistake, it's gonna go bad because they are gonna make a mistake. You know what I mean? It's just part of the process, right? So I'm glad we touched on that.
And the power in learning from those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's because that's, and think of it from a scratch agency standpoint too. Don't underestimate the power of you as the leader of the agency owner that may learn from those mistakes. Oh, now that somebody else is doing this and I see why they made the mistake, it was maybe on my process or it was maybe on the way that we're doing something. Yeah. And with somebody else doing it, delegating whatever it might be will change you to re-audit yourself, right? And look back at your process.
Yeah. And I feel like when you're letting your team do their job, it gives them more of a sense of purpose, right? And if they don't have a sense of purpose, they're not going to last long. You know?
Absolutely.
That's incredible. Yeah. Israel, thank you very much for joining us. This was fantastic. It is it's really cool and special for me to have someone who's means a lot to me in my personal life join the show here, and I appreciate you very much. I'm going to tell a really, really quick story, Sean, and then we'll wrap up. But Israel was the first professional and personal friend that invited me to a round of golf in my whole career. He knows where this is going. And so I never played golf until I got into insurance. And in 2016, I got into insurance and I joined the Rotary Club of Utica, which was an organization my father was in. So I just joined, and I sit down next to this guy at the luncheon. Israel walks over, introduces himself, and hey, what are you doing on Saturday? You want to come out with a couple of us and play golf? And oh yeah, sure. We talked about, yeah, absolutely. I can do it. And then figure it out. This was, I think, like Thursday, Friday and Saturday morning. I'm at the golf range. I was horrible. terrible golfer. I'm all nervous. This guy's got a nice suit on. He's probably great at golf. He's a banker. He knows what he's doing. We get up on the first tee. You want to go ahead? He says to me. I said, no, you go ahead. I let everybody else go first. Israel gets up there, duffs it right off the tee. First one. All my nerves were immediately calm, Sean. I said, oh my gosh, I've been worked up for a day and a half about golfing with this big professional, and he duffs it right off the first tee on me, just probably to make me feel better. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite Israel stories of many. But Israel, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate this and appreciate all the insight.
I will tell you that one of the most important skills to have, at least that I believe I have, is the ability to humiliate myself. So that gets you far.
I'm still convinced you were just trying to make me feel better, but that's okay. All right, everybody, that's another episode of the Scratch Agency podcast. Thanks for joining us. Do us a favor, like the show, share the show, and subscribe. But most importantly, remember to dig down deep, believe in yourself, and own your own future. We'll see you next week. Take care.